going on, everyone? Gilman with Live Wealthy back with our weekly Apple video where we take a look at this previous week and how Apple traded throughout the course of the week, and then kind of key levels that we were looking at and how those kind of fared during the week, and then what the future for Apple could look like in this upcoming week. So if you enjoy these videos, hit that subscribe button. It takes literally 5 seconds and it really helps me out. Hit the like button and comment down below if you're in Apple or what you think the future for Apple could look like, or if you want us to take a look at other stocks, and we'd love to do that for you. Now, wasting no time getting right into it, let me take a look at the 5-day chart, since that's going to cover the whole week. So getting rid of the indicators here, what we see is we started the week in the 113s, and we pushed up. Monday was a great day for Apple, and then Tuesday, right? If you guys remember now, Tuesday was a day we were looking forward to and had been for a while if you followed my videos, because I follow a lot of Apple kind of update videos, not in terms of how the stock's trading, but in terms of what the company's doing. And the company was rumored to announce something on October 13th, which is this upcoming week. And then I kind of looked back and I researched, and typically if they were to announce something on October 13th, they would announce it about a week before, 6 days before. So that put it at this Tuesday or Wednesday, so 10/6 or 10/7. And so we were kind of anticipating. We did see a little bit of a sell-off. I think that's because maybe people were anticipating them to announce it in the morning, and when they didn't, there was a bit of profit taking and selling off. But sure enough, they came through. They announced it around this time in the noon time. We pushed back up towards the VWAP, beat it, tested it again, and then we were going up. I mean, look at this, right? We went up from the high 114s to high 115s in a matter of an hour, right? So we were trending up, and we were trying to hit the previous day's high. And then if you guys remember the Trump tweet about negotiations are off, which sent the stock market in a dive, right? I made a video on that earlier this week. So the Dow dropped 600 points in I think 20 minutes. So that sort of that's what that day was. And then we gapped up and we kind of traded sideways, gapped up, and then kind of traded lower / sideways, and then Friday we finally went up again. Now, when I made the video on Friday to take a look at the daily Apple update videos that I do daily, one of the things I had mentioned was the resistance point of 117.78, which is, let's take a look at the daily chart, I believe, and maybe we can get there. But that was set kind of right here, 10.1, right? And I said that was sort of the next point to look at, because that was a high, that was a previous day's high that we hadn't sort of knocked out. We had knocked out, if you remember this week, our high point of here was, previous high point was in the 116.60s. We did beat that kind of into the closing on Friday. So the next, natural point to look out for was this 117.78. And as of the point of my video Friday, we hadn't gotten that, but if we take a look after hours, it climbed another $1 and made it to 118. So it technically beat that resistance already, right? Assuming we open up flat. Now, as you guys know from my videos, right? I've talked about this upper 118s, 119 resistance point coming up, which if we go back to on the 1-day chart, right? So each candle here is a daily, where Apple started, where Apple ended, kind of, and the lows and the highs. We've got a lot of resistance coming up around this high 118s, right? So we've got on 915, 909, and 98, so going back about a month ago to early September, mid-September, we've got all these resistance points coming up, which I think personally, we could see as a little bit of a resistance, right? The other thing that you guys know I like taking a look at is my indicators. So putting the moving average lines right, what we see is the 50-day moving average line is right at 115.87, which I think can act as great support. And then we've got the 20-day moving average at 113.05 as well, which again could be great support. Now you guys know that this 113 level has held as great support, right? Overall, we've tested it a couple times. We even broke through it a couple times, I would say, but it's still kind of held as something that the stock comes back to, or like in the closing it'll come back to it, which is great. Even this day it broke below it. We closed higher than it. This day we closed at 113.02. So even if we break below it, we like to close to it. So I think 113 still holds. But this 50-day moving average at 115, and then we've got another 20-day moving average at 113. So 115, 113, great sort of supports. And the other thing I want to take a look at is all these EMAs that are stacked. So the 8 EMA at 115, 114.54 being the next 21 EMA, and then the 34 EMA being at 113.90. One thing that I really want to point out that I love seeing in a stock is if we take a look at these EMA numbers, they're stacked, which means the 8 EMA is the highest, then it's the 21st, then it's the 34, then it's 55 and 89. That means the stock is kind of trending upward, which Apple is, right? So if we take a look at the daily chart, you guys know that I talked about how we were in this lower high, lower low for a while for basically September, and then we started this higher high, higher low. And then if you've seen my other videos, you know that we talked about some of this consolidating phase where it was trading between 113 and kind of 116s for like 3 or 4 days straight. And now we are hopefully looking to test back up. Now, so I just talked about all the support we have, right? 115 being the 8 EMA and the moving average. One thing that I did talk about kind of earlier this week when we kind of trended up is we were pretty separated from the EMA lines. And I like looking at that as a, hey, I think it could come back to the EMAs. Which it did, right? Tuesday, if we go back to that video, right? The day before I talked about, hey, what kind of concerns me is we are all the way up here. I think it was in the 116s and the EMAs are in the 113s. Sure enough, the next day we did visit those. Now, does that mean we're at, we closed and went up to the 118? Does that mean we visit the EMAs in the 115s, 114s? I don't know. I think that's when it sort of depends on the market, right? If the market is strong, right, then we have a company like Apple doing their big event this Tuesday where we see they're going to announce a phone, and we see Amazon Prime Day happening 2 days this week as well, earlier on. So I personally think that assuming all else is, nothing else kind of comes into play, right? Stimulus, uncertainty, COVID, whatever. I think that we don't necessarily need to revert to those EMAs and that the EMAs will come up to where the stock is. However, as we saw from the this past week, especially, if we have anything in the stimulus that's uncertain or something is pushed but then gets totally rejected, or something along the lines of, we've canceled talks, right? Or Trump tweets something, all of these things that are sort of beyond Apple but affect the overall market, we could revisit not only those EMAs but go lower. So the reason I say this is we do have resistance in the high 118s, 119. If Apple is strong this week, right, in the iPhone event, and the stimulus talks are fine or continuing, not negative basically, then we could continue, we could break those, we could hit, higher levels than where we are today. But if we see, either the momentum isn't there this week in Apple for whatever reason, even though we have an event, so I don't really see that happening, or if we see something, with coronavirus increasing, or we hear bad news about stimulus or bad news about, something, right? That could overtake any good news that Apple could throw out. And the reason I kind of want to warn you guys with that is because I want everyone to be aware. This week's been super choppy. There's been plays that I made that I thought looked amazing, right? That day that Apple fell like crazy, right? The Dow fell 600 points. I had Apple calls, and I bought the calls right when it hit the EMA. I mentioned this in my video on Tuesday, I believe. Right when it hit the EMA, I was like, oh, perfect. It revisited the EMAs. It's bouncing, let me buy. And for a while, my calls looked really good. And then we had that fall. We had that huge fall that no one could have predicted, right? No one could have predicted Trump was about to tweet. And so my positions went from being amazing to not so great anymore. Now, thankfully, it kind of rallied into the end of the week, so I was able to get out of those at a profit. But I just want to kind of warn you guys that don't just buy the stock or buy the call thinking, oh, Apple has an event and it's going to go up. It probably will. Long term, I think Apple goes up. I'm long in Apple. I own a lot of Apple stock. Well, not a lot of Apple stock, but I own Apple stock. And I think it's going to go up long term, but what happens in the short term is going to be very, very sort of varying based on what happens in the overall stock market. So just like a word of warning to be kind of careful with that. Now, what is this event coming up? So October 13th, it's called the High Speed event. And it's kind of rumored that this is where Apple announces their 5G iPhone, which is really exciting because it could mean that a lot of people are going to upgrade, which is referred to as a super cycle upgrade. So a lot of times they'll release a phone and it'll just have like a slightly better screen or a slightly better camera, whereas this time, you know, it's going from 4G to 5G, which as networks kind of incorporate that into, you know, their, I'm not going to pretend like I know how it works, but I assume they have to do something with their cell towers to get it to work. And so as they start doing that, you know, more and more people are going to want to take advantage of that. So we could see more people upgrading to the iPhone 12, which is really exciting. And the fact that, you know, I think a new iPhone every year is definitely something that a lot of people look forward to, and it brings a lot of hype into the stock. And I'm really excited to kind of see how, you know, Apple trades this week, and I'll keep you guys updated with our daily Apple update videos as well, to kind of see how that's doing and kind of see where we want to head for the week, right? Friday we heard some good news about the stimulus, so if that continues, you know, stock market will trade on that optimism. But if we get bad news again, then it could start going down. So, you know, I think overall we should have a good week for Apple. Hopefully this is the week where we finally break through those 118s, 119s resistance points, and continue upward, continue to where Apple was around the stock split time. I think it was 125 or so, and hopefully higher from there as well. So that's all I had for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, drop a like, subscribe to our channel. I really appreciate each and every one of you that subscribes to the channel. It really helps me out as I'm trying to grow, and comment down below what you think Apple's future looks like. So let's remember to be a bit better every single day. Hope you guys are all having an amazing weekend, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.